Hello, everybody. I know that you're all dying to get to lunch, and you've got the organizers backstage saying to everybody, be quick, be quick, be quick. So I will be as quick as I can. Firstly, thank you so much to Ingrid and Nikolai for inviting me to be here. I'm here not representing myself. I'm here to represent the future generation of young leaders. Why? As an older person myself, and as a mother with one daughter who's 20 years old, there comes a time in your life where you look at what you've achieved if you're any kind of leader, whether it's in business or in government or in the civil society or just as a citizen. And you do have to ask yourself what you've achieved and if you left the world a better place. And I think for lots of us, especially in this 21st century, we do look and say, we're not so wholly convinced of that. If you look at the gatherings that most of us as adults attend, you can imagine a gathering for a week where every single CEO of every single major corporation in the world, every single leader of a country, most of the leaders of NGOs gather together for a week. And then, guess what? Nothing changes. The impacts of climate change continue unfettered. The global financial crisis comes upon us, and guess what? All of that leadership just didn't see it coming. Can you imagine what it is like for our children at 20 years old to look at that and go and think that they should respect us and that we are delivering for them? We can't even provide a simple set of solutions. I, for one, believe that mankind is a miracle in itself. We are absolutely the cleverest, most amazing things that ever appeared. If you're religious like me, I believe someone made me, but whichever way, mankind is a clever beast. There is nothing we face on this planet that we cannot fix. Nothing. Save for natural disasters, and we're busy causing some of those. So I don't understand, I really don't understand why some of the issues that young people face and the world face are not being fixed. I don't understand. And I refuse to understand. I'm not prepared to accept that that's just the way it is. If that's just the way it is, then we are really stupid. And I'm convinced that we are failing our children. And as a mother, I can't live with that. 3 years ago, my boss, David Jones, and I led the campaign against the impacts of climate change for Kofi Annan, leading up to the COP15 talks in Copenhagen. And it was inspirational to work with Mr. Annan, and our campaign called the Tick, Tick, Tick campaign was very well supported in this region, as indeed around the world. And I went to Copenhagen. We had 15 million followers at that point, or 15 million saying they supported the campaign, whatever you call it. By far the biggest campaign. The next biggest was about 4 million supporters. Mr. Annan was not there. But the thing that shocked me as an ordinary citizen, I'm not ordinarily an activist myself, was that there were 17,000 people standing outside the Bella Center in Copenhagen. And those of you from the north, you know about cold. I'm from the south. I don't know about cold. Minus 17 degrees centigrade. I think it's very cold. These 17,000 people standing on that barrier outside the Bella Center were absolutely freezing, holding their placards, saying, give us a deal on climate change, save the planet, give us climate justice. Inside the Bella Center were mainly old people like me, officials from the United Nations, heads of government, mayors of cities. No one in the Bella Center had the courage to go out to the barrier to tell those young people that they were wasting their time, that there wasn't even the rudiments of a deal on the table, and that the United Nations itself does not even provide the process and the protocol for anything to change. I'm a very sunny, optimistic person myself. I come from a sunny country. I don't get depressed. I cried all night. I cried that night in that beautiful Nim hotel, the most expensive hotel I've ever stayed in my life. I wept all night for shame that I didn't have the courage to go to those young people freezing outside and say, you know what, you can go home. We have failed you again. We were last month, the end of January, at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Outside in the very cold again, a small, motley little group of people, I guess, Nikolai, you'd call them hippies, part of the Occupy movement, staging their process in the snow a few hundred yards away from the Congress Center. I'm not proud of this. This is something we should all be ashamed of. I was the only person attending the Congress who went to talk to those young people. Why? Why? What are we scared of? What are they going to do? They're going to eat me? They're going to shout at me? We had a meaningful conversation. I don't agree with them on many things. I don't think it's a valid protest movement to say abolish capitalism. What are you going to do when you abolish capitalism? You're going to close the banks? That doesn't work either. But I was concerned to talk to them. I'm interested to see what they've got to say. I'm interested to see what happens to their movement. So with all of this frustration, David and I believed that as advertising and marketing people, the one thing that we could do, bringing our limited skills to these issues, was if we created a global platform for young leaders to bring together and to try to help and to look after young leaders so that they grow into big leaders who are good leaders, was to create One Young World. One Young World at its simplest is linked, of course, by social media. Everything is these days. And once a year, we have a global summit where we try to bring together people who people like yourselves believe are the next generation of young leaders. Now, some people my age say to me, you can't see when a young person is 25 years old, 23 years old, 28 years old, if they are going to lead a country or make a wonderful new company. I say sometimes you can. Sometimes they're already there. Sometimes is a Mark Zuckerberg. Sometimes is a Bob Geldof. These people start very, very young, changing things. So if we tried to bring them together and tried to create a forum that became over time famous, it would force incumbent leaders, old people, to listen to what young people want and let those young people guide us. So if we can't be good enough leaders today, we can at least follow young people. And I think that's a good idea. An ordinary citizen like me, in those days, I didn't know Desmond Tutu. I didn't know Bob Geldof. I didn't know Muhammad Yunus. I didn't know your own Crown Prince, Prince Haakon. I didn't know any of those people. And you know what? I didn't know anyone who knew them either. So we had a big work to do to try to bring together leaders of great stature with a great ability to inspire our young people that we were bringing together, to try and see, could we get the media to pay attention because these big figures were there, but create a forum where the talking really gets done by the young people. And you know what was interesting? When we finally got through the cordon sanitaire that surrounds these great leaders, to people like Kofi or Desmond Tutu, Prince Haakon himself, and when we said to them, don't you think that you should lend your time to let young people rise up? There wasn't a single person amongst them who said this is a bad idea. Moreover, we don't pay them to be there. You know, most things, if you pay a lot of money, you can get pretty much anybody to come and talk to you. We didn't pay any of them. We said, you just have to come and give your time. Every single one of them came to give their time. And I promise you this, when you look out at One Young World and you see a Kofi Annan standing in a group of 1,000 youngsters, and the person talking is not Kofi, it's some young person from East Timor standing next to Kofi making the point. You look at a young person, as you watch them, they grow. They get taller. Because they're saying, he's listening to me, what I say, it must be important. So we've had 2 summits. We had one in London. We had the second one last year in Zurich. In Zurich, we're just under 1,300 young people from 171 countries. We gather the biggest number of countries at any youth gathering outside of the Olympic Games itself. This year, we are going to Pittsburgh in the United States just 3 weeks before the elections in the United States. We gather again together many global leaders to speak to these young people. This year, returning Bob Geldof, Muhammad Yunus, Mikhail Gorbachev, Rahul Gandhi, Imran Khan from Pakistan, Jamie Oliver, Ariana Huffington, and that's just the start. It's work that I'm doing at the moment. And we hope to be 1,500 and to have 196 countries represented. And there is a really magic thing that happens when you have all of the countries of the world and these amazing older leaders with all of these young people. And I still, as I go around the world today, I have young people coming up to me and saying to me, I don't know what happened when I went to One Young World, but now I'm doing this and now I'm doing the other thing. Equally, Paul Pullman at Unilever, Anthony Jenkins at Barclays, Jean-Paul Agon at L'Oréal, all of these CEOs of these great global companies who come to me and David and say, best thing we ever did. They as businesses are using their delegations of young leaders to One Young World to change, to transform their companies from the inside, the way Paul describes it. He says, when I've got to take all of my managers and middle managers with me on my sustainable living plan, my work is hard. When the young people come in and they say, we do it like this because Paul says so, life gets really easy. And it's true, because young people are such agents of change. We have a huge delegation coming in from Siemens, from HP, KPMG, PwC. I know one of you are here today. PwC has its own PwC One Young World network. McKinsey are there. Google. I know there was a Google speaker this morning. So literally, Syngenta also I saw there. Literally, most companies you can think of in the world are sending their young leaders to One Young World. They also support their NGOs. So when the NGOs choose someone, they also get sent to One Young World. And we have some fantastic cases. We have a young man in the United States who is running for Congress this year. He's 26. We have a young boy in Uganda, a former child soldier who is running to be an MP in this year's elections in Uganda. On the 21st of February this year, in 85 countries, One Young World ambassadors launched their first wake-up call. In each country, they chose their own wake-up call. They issued a call to government and people that they wanted to change. And this has led to, in Kathmandu, the government has promised to provide wheelchair access to all government buildings. It's hard to imagine in a wonderful country like Norway, a government building where there is no disabled access. Until now, no disabled access in Kathmandu, a promise from the government, and they've started building the ramps. In Mexico and France, our young ambassadors have demanded that the presidential candidates in this year's presidential elections in those countries spend a day live-streamed talking to young people, listening to young people's demands. So a wonderful movement for change all over the world. So I leave you with just a 3-minute film just to taste and to lift up your hearts and get a feeling of what things are like at One Young World, where really there is social innovation for change. Run the film.
Before you start the film, I just want to thank everybody of you for being here, and I excuse for our expanding of the time. Lunch is soon served, and next year we'll talk about the coming generation. And also I want to thank all the people who have been working volunteered for us for weeks and weeks to make this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bless you.
To be here with you. I love being here because I'm dying to see what you guys do.
I had to be here. I had to be here. The fantasy and the ideas and the passion of young people and what young people can do.
All around the world today, we are seeing the world's leaders failing to actually lead.
You have to get us out of this mess because we have failed.
This amazing group of councillors believe that you can change the world for the better. Please do it.
You're the pilots now, guys.
She's in your head.
Our generation must recognize its power as consumers and its responsibility as citizens of this planet to support businesses demonstrating concrete emissions targets, but also publicly hold accountable those that do not.
We need to demand an end to fossil fuel subsidies.
Global businesses must take responsibility to human dignity.
We should not underestimate the power of social media to promote democracy.
There is no magic in the tools. The magic is actually in the application.
The world started to listen and the world started to care.
That's the younger generation. This enormous collective power that you have.
You are a generation that knows more about social and digital media and how you actually use that to drive and affect positive change.
Fear, anger, disbelief. These were some of the feelings I, a Norwegian Muslim, felt when I first heard about the terror attack in Norway the 22nd of July.
We cannot undo what is done, but we can choose to stand by our values.
Those who strip humanity from religion are your enemy, not the religion itself.
This summit is the start of our campaign to make business, government and leadership work for us in the digital age.
Inspired by you, we're creating the One Young World Social Business Fund.
Wow! I would like to thank David and Kate for making this all happen.
Our politics does not understand that any one of you can form a political lobby for change now.
Let us, as One Young World, send one message. World, this is a wake-up call.